Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Tay Talks Positivity. This is your girl Tay, ready to help you get your week started with some positive vibes and good energy. This week, we actually have a special guest that's going to help me with this week's episode. We're doing it a little different than usual, so everybody, welcome my fiancee Shamira. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
It took a little bit of teeth pulling to get her to do this with me, so bear with us as we get through it. She actually had a lot of good questions, and I wanted to actually get her on here so we can kind of go back and forth over this week's topic. This past week was a little bit of a tough week in the Cooper Uri household. There was a lot of emotions all over the place. Do you ever feel like the more you try, the harder things seem? Like, for some reason, you feel like life just dealt you a shitty hand. You try your best to live right, be nice to people, and you always try to do the right thing. You try to have faith and believe that God will provide all your needs and wants, but for some reason, things just seem to never go your way. You wake up every day with the same routine. You go to work, sometimes at a place that you don't even like, but you go because you have to work. You got to make money. And you have to be able to pay your bills and buy the things that you need. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you may have a little extra to buy some of the things that you want. You might take a look around and wonder, why does it seem like people that do wrong or people that already are doing well are the people that always seem to catch a break? In the meantime, you're trying your best to be a good person, but it always seems like there's one thing after another. Sometimes you may even question God and ask him, why me? You try to do everything right and live by him, but you're still struggling financially, mentally, and physically. I've heard people say that God only gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I've even heard that if I stay encouraged, my reward will be in heaven. But then I ask myself, why not now? Why do I have to wait to die to go to heaven to not have to worry anymore? You have to think to yourself, what is it that makes you happy? What can you do to make the things in your life the way you need them to be in order for you to be happy? I think we get stuck in the mindset of thinking of the things that we want and getting those things, but once we get them, we tend to want more. But think of the things that you have and ask yourself why those things aren't enough to make you happy. There are people out there in far worse situations and places that you are in that wish they had what you have. They would want to switch places with you in a heartbeat and be satisfied and grateful for what you have. So why is it that you can't be? I know that sometimes it can be easier said than done, but you have to count your blessings. While you're complaining about your car and you're saying it's old and you want something new, there's someone out there pedaling a bike to get to where they have to go to, wishing they had that car you don't want. And while they're complaining about the bike that they have, there's someone who has to walk everywhere they need to go, looking at that person on the bike riding past them, wishing they had the bike so they didn't have to walk. I came across a video on Facebook, and this young lady asked this guy if he had a chance to ask God one question and get the answer immediately, what would he ask him? The young man said he wouldn't ask him anything. He would honestly just give him thanks. He said he used to ask God why. He then went on to say what Y stands for. He runs off the different things that Y stands for him. The first thing he said was, "Who hurt you?" Then he says, "Who helped you?" Then he says, "Who healed you?" He told the young lady, when you ask those questions, you realize that God does things to build you, not kill you. Now, as I was preparing to record this episode, I had Shamira like read through it. She wanted to read through it rather. And she started asking me some questions, and I had to pull her teeth to get her to sit down and do this with me so that she could ask me these questions and we could have like a little back and forth banter on it. So, what was one of the questions you asked me after you read it?
So, I don't know if it's good. I know people like to say you don't question God, but I'm a thinker, and that's just the way my brain works. I have questions, and sometimes people take it as me being negative. I'm not a negative Nancy. I just have questions. So, my question was, when the gentleman posed the question of asking why, or not to ask why, I don't remember exactly what it was, but my question was, how do we know that everybody's why is going to be the same? Everybody may not say God is the one who helped them heal, who helped them whatever. Their response may be, in looking at the situation, let's say if it's a relationship, that it was the new person that they met is the one who helped them heal, or, help them get through whatever situation it was. So that just...
Right, so you're saying you believe that it's not like you're questioning why God or anything like that, but you're saying how he said who helped you and who healed you. You're saying that in some aspect it's the person that you're with that may have helped you get through that difficult time, is basically what you're saying, or helped you like attack whatever situation you were going through at that moment.
Right. It could have been a person. It may not necessarily have been. Well, we would all say God puts people in your life for a reason, for a season, or whatever. But everybody's mind doesn't automatically think, oh, God.
God is the one that's doing it.
Right.
Well, I mean, that also, I guess, depends on how a person looks at stuff, because, say, in certain situations, like most recently, what was it? With the me being depressed and turning to drinking to try to heal that depression. At one point, I thought like you were being hard on me or trying to, make me be a certain way when it wasn't necessarily that. It was God working his way through you to get to me the way that I needed to be reached. Sometimes, it takes a certain person to reach you in a way where nobody else can. And sometimes, in a nutshell, you just have to, I believe it just has to deal with faith and a belief that God works through different people.
That's a way to look at it too, but everybody's mind doesn't think like that.
Everybody's mind doesn't think like that, but when you're going through, whose fault is it? Who are you blaming when you're going through? Are you saying, like we mentioned a week or two ago, it ain't nothing but the devil getting busy? Like in our culture, that's what we usually say when stuff is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it ain't always the devil. Sometimes God has to present certain things to you in certain ways to let you know, hey, this ain't for you. Or let me remove you from this situation because there's greater things or better things out there for you.
Right, and I guess that just goes back to, like you said, a person having faith or their spirituality or what they believe in. And like I said, not everybody's mind goes to that.
No, but that's what we're here for, to try to have people think in a more positive mind frame. And it's not necessarily always negative. And I want to put that out there because a lot of times, even in my closing, I say when somebody negative or something, you know, tries to attack your positive vibes or your good energy, sometimes it's all about your mind frame. It's all about the state of mind that you're in. And you have to be in that state of mind sometimes where you just have to believe and, like you said, have faith that things aren't always going to be that way. Things are going to get up from where they are. Now, I know there was more stuff we was talking about, but I guess you was kind of saying like it was more of a statement than a question.
Correct.
So I guess we can go ahead and close it out for the week. And I want to thank you for, you know, sitting down with me and doing this with me this week. It means a lot to me to have you here. And usually I record by myself, but
Well, I appreciate it for, yeah, I appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of your positive talks.
yeah, I mean, we have a lot of positive talks on our own, and not everything is meant for everybody to hear. So it was nice to actually have you sit down with me and, um, you know, do this week's episode. And the one thing we didn't do, though, was an affirmation.
Right.
So if I would have to give this week's podcast an affirmation, I would have to say my faith is bigger than my fear. You agree?
Yeah.
So say it with us. My faith is bigger than my fear. My faith is bigger than my fear. My faith is bigger than my fear. I don't know, y'all. I'm real excited she actually did this with me. This week is, I can feel all the positive things that's about to come out and happen this week. It's just a feeling that I'm getting. But we're going to let y'all go, get y'all week started. Repeat that affirmation. And as usual, if something comes along that try to brings you down or take you off your path of positive thinking, you repeat your affirmation, and you never know. That positive aura that you have around you might be enough to change that person's way of thinking. Until next time, this is your girl Tay and our special guest. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good one.